First time I ever had a truck here flip.
I wouldn't stand anywhere near the front of the truck because it could all come over.
Oh, that frame is completely...
Buzz Legault snapped, and what he did next left Rick speechless. Buzz wasn't complaining anymore. He stormed out of his rock truck and wordlessly hijacked the excavator, throwing gravel around like he owned the place. He put it bluntly, he was nothing more than Rick's truck mule now, and the whole crew felt the heat. Tune in, because Buzz just blurted out the words no one saw coming, and it'll split the crew in half. A truck, a grudge, and 20 feet of dirt. Buzz Legault looked like he was about to snap. He was stuck again inside that rock truck, bouncing around like popcorn in a hot pan. The seat barely had any padding left. The steering wheel had teeth marks from all the frustration chewed into it. Every bump on that loop road sent a jolt through his back. His knees felt it, his shoulders felt it, and that road just didn't quit. It was long, 2,000 feet of bone-rattling mess. But what happened next changed the entire season. 4 trucks were running non-stop, hauling waste, chasing that gold vein they knew was close. Less than 20 feet to go, that's what the survey said. They were nearly there. But that didn't make it easier. It made it worse. Every inch was harder than the last. And Rick's crew, bare bones, small, everyone had to pull double. Some had to pull triple. There was no room for tired, no space for slowing down. And Buzz? He wasn't hiding how he felt about it. Buzz didn't sign up to be a truck driver. Not in his mind anyway. He saw himself in the excavator, fine-tuning slopes, cleaning out the ditch lines, maybe turning wrenches or keeping the wash plant tuned. But this, stuck in that rattling cab hauling 90 loads a day, that wasn't it. He hated that truck, said it loud, said it often, called it names, laughed about how he ripped his pants on that road, blamed the ruts, blamed the truck, blamed the dust, anything but himself. By midday, he couldn't take it anymore. He jumped out and climbed into an excavator. Nobody asked him to. He just did it. Said the road needed more rock. Threw down chunky gravel like it was pay dirt, still grumbling, still throwing side looks at the truck he ditched. Someone mentioned his title, foreman. Buzz didn't say it out loud, but it was written all over his face. He felt passed over, like he should be calling shots, not running laps. The truth? The crew noticed Buzz used to show up first. Now he was dragging, used to roll out at 4:30 in the morning, full throttle. Now, not so much. Sometimes they found him already in the machine, engine cold, eyes half closed. Looked like sleep, and probably was. The others were busting their backs, and Buzz, napping right in front of them. It didn't sit well. Rick tried to brush it off at first, tried to keep things rolling, but the air got heavy. People started talking. Jokes turned into jabs. One guy said Buzz's machine looked more like a bed than a workhorse. Another said they should fit curtains and a pillow in there. It wasn't funny anymore. Then came the radio call. Another complaint about the road, Buzz crackling through, saying his phone thought he was in a crash because of the bumps. He wasn't wrong, that road was rough, rutted to death from all the hauls. But Rick had heard enough complaining. Not from Buzz, not today. Rick pulled him aside, out of earshot but not out of sight, told him straight. The crew was tired, but they were showing up. They were in the machines, doing what had to be done. They weren't napping, they weren't checking out, and Buzz? He was sending the wrong message, loud and clear. Buzz pushed back, said he built the project, said Vegas Valley was his baby, that he started the work up top, that now he was being pushed out of the role he wanted. Rick didn't blink. Told him this wasn't about feelings, this was about getting it done. Said Buzz wasn't pulled from the top to punish him. Said he was moved because he was the only one who could do more than one thing. That was the deal. That was the job. Buzz wasn't happy about that, you could see it. His jaw locked up, he stopped making eye contact. He stood there like he had bricks in his boots. Rick kept going, said this wasn't a big crew. They didn't have extra hands. They didn't have the luxury of everyone sticking to one role. If someone had a free seat, they filled it. If someone had the skill, they used it. Simple as that. There weren't 100 workers out there, not even close. 5, maybe 6 on a good day. That meant every person mattered. If one checked out, the rest felt it. If one fell behind, the others had to carry the load. That's how operations crumble. Not with one big blow, with small cracks that nobody wants to admit are there. Rick looked Buzz in the eye. told him they needed him. Not just there in body, but really there. Working, moving, leading if he still wanted to. Rick said Buzz was a big part of the team last year, that he meant it when he said it, that he didn't want to lose him. But things had to change. Buzz didn't say much, just stood there, arms crossed, eyes burning. Rick reached out for a hug. Buzz gave him one, quick, tight, but the tension, still thick. You could swing a shovel through it. They went back to work. Truck still rolling, still hauling up and down that broken loop road, still chasing gold that was less than 20 feet away, still tired, still stretched thin. And Buzz? He climbed back into the cab. This time, quiet. No yelling, no muttering. Just him, the wheel, and that same busted-up road. The rest of the day went on like that. Slow, grinding, but steady. Rick said the air was clear. Maybe on his side. But Buzz? Hard to tell. He moved different. Less fight, more routine. Like someone punching a clock, not chasing a prize. What happened up at Paradise Hill would test a different crew in a different way. Tony Beats versus the clock. Trouble kicked off fast up at Paradise Hill. Tony Beats had a serious problem brewing. His settling pond, the one that's supposed to catch all the muddy water from the wash plant, was packed full. Silt, dirt, sludge, call it what you want, it was jammed tight. If that dirty water spilled into the nearby creek, the whole place could get shut down. Not by choice, but by the people who watch over the environment. That meant Tony had to hit pause. No more washing rocks, no more chasing gold. Everything stopped. They had to fix the pond or risk getting the entire operation shut down for who knows how long. The fix? Build the dike higher so the water had more room to settle. That gives the silt time to sink and cleaner water can flow out. It sounds simple, but it isn't. Not when the pond is already full and the season is nearly over. Mike's crew rolled in with a side dump truck to haul in more dirt to raise the dike. It's late in the season and they're already behind, so every hour counts. They needed to build up the road, make it wider, longer, stronger. The trucks dumped load after load. Mike followed behind with a massive dozer, flattening everything out, packing it tight. It was all going smooth until it wasn't. One of the side dump trucks flipped, just like that. It went over near the edge of the dike. It didn't fall all the way down, but it was leaning hard over a 15-foot drop. The thing was loaded heavy with dirt, way too much weight for a regular rescue. Nobody was hurt, but the whole operation froze. That truck needed to get out before they could finish the dike and get the plant running again. And that was not going to be quick. Mike tried with the 220 excavator. No dice, he brought in the 480. That one's a monster. Can lift up to 20 tons. Still not enough. The truck stayed stuck. The chain stretched tight, too much weight, not enough room to work. Mike kept trying. New angles, different pull points, nothing worked. He didn't want to disconnect the trailer because that would take hours, but they were running out of options. They tried lifting from one end, then the other, tried pulling sideways, then straight, still nothing. Meanwhile, the wash plant sat silent. No water running, no gold coming in. Every minute lost was money gone. Tony had not seen a single ounce come through in more than 24 hours. He needed that plant running again, fast. Eventually, they gave up and disconnected the trailer. It was the only way to move forward. Once the truck and trailer were separated, things started to shift. They pulled the trailer upright first. That part came up easier than expected. Then they turned their focus to the truck. The truck was heavier and more awkward. They had to be careful. Hooked it up, lined up the excavator and pulled, slow and steady. The truck came up inch by inch, then it tipped a little too fast, almost hit the excavator. Mike managed to pull back just in time. It missed by a few feet. Could have gone bad quick, but it didn't. With both pieces upright, they reconnected the truck and trailer, made sure everything was tight, fired it up, it started. That alone felt like a win. Almost 2 full days gone just to rescue one truck. That kind of delay hurts, especially this late in the season. With the truck finally moving again, they went right back to work. More loads of dirt, more packing. The dike had to be ready or the water would never settle. And without clean water, the plant stays off. Tony was only running one wash plant that week. That was the trommel up on Paradise Hill. The big goal for the season was 5,000 ounces. To make that happen, they needed around 200 ounces every single week. No excuses. By the end of that week, they scraped together 143 ounces. That's over $350,000 in gold. Not enough, but it was something. After 2 days of downtime, they would take what they could get. The pressure was back on. Trucks rolled, dozers pushed, excavators swung. No time to waste. That dirt had to move. That water had to settle. The gold had to come out of the ground. It all came down to that flipped truck. One mistake, one corner taken too fast. That back tire caught the edge of the dike and gravity did the rest. The whole thing tipped slow, like it had time to think about it. But once it started, there was no stopping it. The frame twisted, dirt shifted, the whole load leaned hard. By the time the driver stopped, it was too late. The trailer kept pulling. The truck followed. The side dump hung half over the edge, 15 feet of open space below. Mike tried to save it with one machine, then another. Still no luck. The machines groaned, the chains stretched. Nothing gave. Then they brought in a second excavator. Tried lifting from 2 spots at once. It helped, but not enough. They looked for better hook points, moved the chains around, tried lifting straight up, then tried rolling it sideways. Still nothing. The ground was soft, the angle was wrong, and that truck was just too heavy. They unhooked the trailer, pulled it up first. That cleared some space, gave them more room to work. Then they hit the truck again. New chain spots, more lift, less angle. This time it started to move. They got it just far enough that gravity took over. The truck tipped back onto its wheels. Hard, but clean. The crowd let out a breath. That could have gone bad. Once they were both upright, they checked everything. Hooked the truck and trailer back together, started it up, moved it out. It was back on the road again. With that out of the way, the dike work kicked into gear again. The wash plant could run, water could settle, gold could flow. Everyone went back to their machines, digging, hauling, pushing. It was almost 2 days gone. No gold caught, no work done, but now it was back on track. Trucks moved faster, dozers worked harder. No one wanted another delay. That week they managed to catch 143 ounces. Not great, but better than nothing. Tony still needed to find more gold if he was going to hit that 5,000 mark. But down in the Lynx cut, Kevin Beets was about to fire up a whole new plan, one built from the ground up and running on nothing but nerve. No diesel, no gold. Kevin Beets didn't follow the crowd this season. He broke away from it. While every other miner up north kept burning diesel, Kevin dropped over $100 grand of his own money on something unheard of in the Klondike, a propane-powered generator big enough to run his entire wash plant. Not even his old man Tony would try something like that. And Parker, he's sticking with what works. But Kevin's got his eyes on something bigger and riskier. The season didn't start smooth. Kevin spent the early months just trying to get his wash plant built. He'd spent years building setups for others, Monica, Mike, the whole Beets crew, but this one was his. No hand-me-downs, no borrowed parts. Just his design, his money, his future. But missing that early season window cost him. While others were running dirt, he was still welding steel and running lines. By the time the plant stood ready, the Lynx cut had piles of pay dirt waiting. All Kevin needed was power. And that's where the propane gamble came in. 2 massive tanks, 1,000 gallons each, hooked into a 120 kilowatt generator. That's enough to light up a full mining spread if it worked. It was a cleaner, quieter, and supposedly smoother option, but untested out here. If it failed, Kevin wasn't just down on fuel, he'd lose the whole season. When the moment came, he fired up the generator, swung the loader over, and dropped in the first scoop. Conveyor hummed, water sprayed, and the screens shook to life. It felt like a win until it wasn't. Dirt started sliding off the belt before hitting the pre-wash. No water up top, nothing was landing right. The whole setup choked before it got going. Kevin shut it down, diagnosed it fast, angle on the conveyor was off. Dirt wasn't making it far enough, and water couldn't catch it. They raised the belt, pushed it forward, tried again. It took hours of trial and error. Lift here, tilt there. Finally, the pay dirt landed where it should. Water slapped it clean, the shaker deck came alive, and for the first time, the plant started running like it was meant to. And that's when it hit him. His own pay, in his own plant, running off his own system. After months of frustration, real gold started showing in the mats. Not just specks, solid flakes, heavy stuff, the kind that makes the busted knuckles worth it. They fed the plant slow, watching every detail. By the end of the shift, they did the first real cleanup. Kevin leaned over the mats and smiled. Bright yellow, chunky pieces, and even one fat enough to turn into jewelry. It was working. The propane gamble wasn't just some crazy idea, it was paying off. Still, every load was a balancing act. Slipping dirt, water misfires, bouncing belts, every run came with problems. But Kevin and his crew tweaked and tuned, measured, adjusted, got their hands dirty until everything ran smoother. That first full day, Kevin stayed in the loader, feeding the hopper bucket after bucket. No breaks, all focus. When they shut it down, the mats looked even better than before. Bright pockets, gold streaks, and clumps that made the crew grin. Not just flash, real weight. They panned it slow, worked it piece by piece. Under the light, Kevin watched the gold gleam in the grooves. This wasn't guesswork anymore. This was proof. They boxed it, weighed it, ran fingers through it. The first serious gold from Kevin's own setup. 12 brutal weeks to get here. But the plant ran, the propane held, and the gold came through. Now, it's wash, clean, reset, and do it all again. That propane tank's just getting started. And if the machines hold and the Yukon weather plays nice, Kevin's not chasing dreams. He's chasing 1,000 ounces. Does this make Kevin the next big name in Yukon Gold? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more behind the scenes grit.